Welcome to Dubai. That's right. You wouldn't know where this hotel could be in Los Angeles, but it is not. Dave Weaver is going to get you set up here for the Dubai World Cup tomorrow here at Meydan Racecourse. And we're going to have some fun. Jess Stafford is going to join me. She's going to bring you all things international, and she's really going to have to work a lot harder than I am because there are definitely more European horses than there are American horses. But we do have a lot of representatives coming from America, if I counted them correctly. 13, a lot of Japanese horses as well that we can both kind of talk about those. But great for us both to be back here in Dubai. What a day it's going to be tomorrow, Jess.
Yeah, well, I don't know about you. I'm not sure where you are, but I'm on the racetrack. I'm actually
You
hovering
are.
over it because this is what you can do in Dubai. The technology and the light shows and the AI, we're all one with the technology here in Dubai. But this is the backdrop. This is what it's going to look like around about probably a few hours pre this time tomorrow as the sun comes down on Meydan, which is the most beautiful track. I think everyone's just been blown away in the mornings by how fantastic this racetrack is. And I know that we really enjoyed those very early starts, well worth it, just to get a sense of atmosphere. And they really build up the occasion, quite like Breeders' Cup do as well. But as you say, a lot of international runners. The Japanese, I think, are going to have a very, very good day.
It's kind of like the Olympics where all these countries we're going to do a medal count. We're going to see who gets the most gold medals. It's really fun to see who's going to come out on top and the best international day of the entire year. And what a show they're going to put on. And looking at the schedule, they push things back. It's going to be about 100 degrees tomorrow here in Dubai. So they're going to try to let the sun go down a little bit more than it would have if they started earlier. So they pushed everything back. So the Dubai World Cup itself is going to go 9:30 local. It would have been 8:30, but they pushed it back an hour. So we're about 24 hours away from the big one. It'll start at 4:35 local time. So just to put things in perspective where people are out maybe in the United States and California, that's going to be 5:35 a.m. East Coast 8:35 a.m. So we're 11 hours ahead here in Dubai. So right now it's Friday night, it's Friday morning, or maybe early afternoon for a lot of you out there watching on our FanDuel Racing platforms. Okay, so we're going to talk about, we'll call them the 5 big races. We got the UAE Derby, race 5, and then the 4 winning your in races for the Breeders' Cup Classic, the Dubai Golden Shaheen, the Dubai Turf, the Longines Dubai Sheema Classic, and then the Dubai World Cup. But there are 4 races before those. We're not going to be having enough time to break all those races down for you, but we got the Dubai Kahila Classic, which is an Arabian race for $1 million. Huge race. That's race number 1. The Dubai Gold Cup is race 2. That's the 2-mile marathon. Then we got the Godolphin Mile. Doug O'Neill won that race last year. He's trying to win it again. And then the Al-Qas Sprint, which is the turf race that they don't go around a turn. They just go straight down the straightaway. But tune in tomorrow. We'll talk about all of these, obviously, live. But let's start with the UAE Derby. This is the race that Forever Young won last year on his way to being 3rd in the Kentucky Derby. So this is a huge race to earn points. This year, these points are earned by the European and Middle East horses. So even though we have a U.S. horse in flood zone, he has 50 points, U.S. points. If he earns points here, they don't combine. It's kind of a weird thing that we have a horse that already has points for the Derby showing up in flood zone. And he's certainly the horse to beat, although I know he's not really that high on your radar right now.
I find it very difficult to know where I stand with Flood Zone, I have to admit, because I think that he's an exceptionally talented horse, Dave, and this was a great performance in the Gotham, and I think that he's really maturing, he's developing. There's just a couple of queries I have. Main one is that Brad Cox said himself the owners wanted to give it a shot, and I'm all for it. The owners, I think, are the optimum here. They have a couple of runners, Wathan Racing. They want to be seen on the big stages. There are probably easier routes he could have gone at home, but to ship a horse this young, this early on in his career, all the way to Meydan, to Dubai, en route to Kentucky Derby, it's a big ask, and he's going to have to show a lot of maturity, a lot of, I think a lot of heart, and he's going to have to raise his game massively against horses that have the experience at Meydan around the 2 turns, and also have just they're acclimatized. They know where they are, whereas this is going to be all new for him. And then the other question I have for you is about his jockey. Now Florent Giroux's on board. His jockey over the last 3 starts. You're going to have to probably say his name better than me.
Ray Lu Gutierrez. He's in California now. He's ridden a lot of different places over the last 12 months, but he's moved his tack to California. Not going to be making the trip. Florent Giroux also is going to have hit show for the same owners, same trainer. So I think that just made sense for that to happen. I mean, I don't know the details behind the whole jockey thing, but Florent Giroux certainly can ride a horse he's never ridden before and put on a good ride. So that's not a concern.
Yeah. And potentially not. I just think that this jockey seems to get on very well with the horse. Florent Giroux is one of the best in the world. He just seems to be learning about the horse a lot. I don't know. I think he's still in his early stage of his career, and it's a big ask for a horse so early. But I'd love to be pleasantly surprised. I think it'd be an extremely big performance if he's able to do it. But it's just quite an unusual route, would you not think?
Yeah, it's definitely for a horse that's going for $1 million to get a new jockey. Now let's talk about Shin Forever, who comes out of the Saudi Derby, just like Forever Young did last year, but Forever Young won it. Shin Forever finished second in that race. The winner of the race, Golden Vekoma, is not in this field, but Shin Forever certainly ran a pretty big race last time, yeah?
Oh yeah, certainly. I was actually lucky to be in Saudi to witness this, and he was unlucky really. I think he hit to the front and just got a little bit lonely. He was just out on that long stretch, and I think if the jockey had it again, he might have been a little bit more patient. The thing is with Shin Forever, he's only won 1 race so far, which was his opening 2-year-old victory right at the beginning of his career. Switching back to the dirt last time has definitely benefited him, and he has, as you saw there, showed plenty of early speed. He was just outgunned late by Golden Vekoma, and he's just a horse that I think they'll get their tactics slightly better, but I think himself and Flood Zone are both likely to go forward. And whether that might benefit some of the closers, whether the track might be favouring closers, I'm not sure. With the heat as it is, it might be quite difficult to peg back on the surface tomorrow.
I believe you had a chance earlier in the week to catch up with Safi Osborne, who's aboard Heart of Honor. Now, this is a local horse. You know, we have all these ones having to come in, like Flood Zone, whereas Shin Forever came from Japan, went to Saudi last time out, never raced here at Meydan. But the 6-horse Heart of Honor has a pretty good local record.
Yeah, this is a great story, actually, Dave, and this is one of the stories that a lot of the British press, anyway, are going to be rooting for. Safi Osborne going to be riding for her father, Jamie Osborne. You'll remember Jamie Osborne actually won this race back 11 years ago with Toast of New York, who came very close in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And Safi was 12 when Toast of New York was winning. She's now of an age at 20, I think it's 21 now, that she'll be riding Heart of Honor for her father. This was one of the victories he had when Andrew de Vries was on board. Safi was actually in Australia at the time, picking up a lot more experience. And this team have gone out of their way to go and buy dirt horses. Like, the British don't have that many dirt horses of this kind of caliber, but they went and bought a horse by Honor AP to try and aim them at the Meydan Carnival. Now, he began his life in the UK. Jamie does train in the UK, but they've got a satellite yard in Meydan. So as you'll see, as you've quite rightly pointed out, he has had this experience in Meydan, which has been good, but he's also shown his weaknesses in his last couple of starts, as he has been slow away. He's just been a little bit lazy early on. And Safi has said to me this week that they hope that the blinkers being added for the first time could just be that little bit that could help him tomorrow, because he doesn't want any issues early doors.
I think the coolest horse in this race is the filly. Number one, she's a filly going against the boys. And number two, she's been racing in Scandinavia. Now, when you think racing in Sweden, you think harness racing, which is pretty big. They have the Elite Lop, one of the bigger races in Europe. But thoroughbred racing in Scandinavia is not something that I find very common. So this is what this stage is all about, is to have these horses wherever they come from. We had a horse last year that was racing in Kazakhstan, I think, that was in the
Yeah.
Dubai World
Mhm.
Cup. And the fact that there's a Scandinavian horse here, I think, is very captivating.
Oh yeah, it's what the sport is all about, isn't it? And you know, we've got Isavonga Vongu running, who originally from
Yeah.
South Africa, now and now trained in America. We love these stories. This is what racing's all about. It really brings all the nations together. And Niels Peterson, the trainer of Queen Azteca, was extremely proud of her. But you know, add in the other dimension that her jockey Carlos Lopez is actually from Chile originally. He's 43 years of age, and this victory in Maidan last time was his biggest victory of his career. So it's taken a long time for him to get to this point. He's won all the Scandinavian races. He's actually based there, but he became the first Chilean jockey to win a race in Dubai in 2019. And since then, it's taken a while. And now he's going to have his first ride on Dubai World Cup night. And he gets on so well with Queen Azteca. I love her too, Dave. I think that this is a horse that might just be better with a better race. I know that sometimes can be difficult to get your head around, but she might not have shown herself to be as dominant as she could be. I think she just found it all too easy last time out. I can't see her winning this UAE Derby, but I could see her running a big race. Again, her Maidan form helps, and she does need to improve. But the benefit of being a filly against the boys is that she gets a weight advantage off them
Looking at
too.
the morning line, Flood Zone, I think for sure is going to be the favorite. We'll see if they bet Queen Azteca or not. Shin Forever off the Saudi race is going to probably take some place. So let's reveal our three picks in this race. I'll let you start.
So I have gone for Shin Forever. I think he's the horse with all the experience, and he's going to use that to very good light. I think the Japanese have targeted this meeting, and this horse will just probably be placed a little bit differently in the race. I think Heart of Honor will be chasing him home hard in second, and Queen Azteca in third. And not because I don't completely discount the chances of Flood Zone. I just think he's going to find it all a little bit too much tomorrow. But we probably will see the best of him back home.
I'm going to go Flood Zone, and this is going to be a little bit of a theme for me. I think it's going to be a chalky night, really. There might be a few prices in there, but I think there are going to be a lot of favorites who just are the best horse that come out on top on Dubai World Cup night. But the long shot that I'm going to throw in that we didn't talk about is the 5 Galactic Star, also a horse that's raced locally a couple of times and done pretty well, hitting the board twice. So Galactic Star, very usable for Bupat Simar, who wins a lot of races on this night. He's got Tuz in the sprint that's going to be going against Straight No Chaser. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but you always got to pay attention to the Bupat Simar horses and the 6 Heart of Honor. That's the only horse that we're both going to have together in our top 3. So those are our selections for the UAE Derby. Now the next 4 races we're going to talk about, very special for the first time ever. They are win and you're in races for this year's Breeders' Cup, which is so cool to have these spots earned so early. We'll start with the Golden Shaheen, which is going to be race number 6 on the program. Or we can go to the Sheema Classic. Yeah, let's go Golden Shaheen. So the winner of this race is going to earn a spot into the Breeders' Cup Sprint, but also earn an automatic berth into next year's Golden Shaheen. So there's a lot at stake here.
Oh yeah, this probably is one of the races of the night, if especially from American fan perspective, because this is the Golden Boy. This has got I don't even know how many owners. Is it hundreds of thousands?
There are 40 that made it here. I think there are somewhere around 900, if I remember correctly, that actually have ownership shares with my racehorse and Straight No Chaser. But I believe 40 people made the trip to Dubai to be a part of this special horse.
Yeah, and they're having the time of their lives, and as they should be. And look, Dan Blacker has trained this horse to perfection. You know, getting a horse to win the Breeders' Cup as he did was exceptional, but then having in his mind that he wanted to aim the horse at for Dubai for this Golden Shaheen have essentially a prep run in at Saudi. I know that Dan spent a long time in Dubai himself in his sort of early formative years. So this is a lifetime goal to try and achieve, but with a horse that looks to just be improving no end. Straight No Chaser was very dominant last time out in the Riyadh Dirt Sprint, where Johnny Velasquez it was just poetry. He jumped out and was never going to be beaten. It just always looked like he was so comfortable. There was nothing really there that was able to go to the pace that he could. He's looking great in the mornings. He just seems to be a horse that has really enjoyed the environment, and it's going to be very exciting to see him, because we do have another horse that can keep up with that early gate speed in Tiz, and that's what's going to make it. If they both show up on their A game, this could be one of the best Golden Shaheens we've ever seen. And Tiz looks to be as good as he's ever been. He was last year's winner. The home fan base there rooting for him. I've tried to find negatives in either of them just to see if there is a gap or a slight division between them. The only thing I can see with Tiz is that he can be a little bit lazy in his run, but the way that he explodes, as you've seen just there, at the latter stages of his racing, is what's really frightening. And that's the only element that I'm worried about with Straight No Chaser, that this horse just has that extra gear change, which could just essentially just show who's could be more dominant. But I just think that Straight No Chaser is improving, whereas Tiz might not just be as improving as he is. What do you think?
Well, Tuz, I think, just has to just blaze out there. One thing we did learn with Straight No Chaser, he's obviously very good when he's in front, but he proved in the Breeders' Cup Sprint that if he doesn't get in front, he can still win. He was rateable at Del Mar, and he won, and Johnny V rode him perfectly that day. So we'll see what he decides to do, if he decides to try to take Tuz early or just kind of sit right off the hip. I think if they do go fast, Nakatomi is the horse that absolutely could be making up the ground. Now, historically, this is a track that does seem to favor speed and horses that are going to be out on the lead, but Nakatomi has a really nice late kick.
Yeah, and look, Nakatomi, I spoke to Louis Dubois, who's here as assistant for Wesley Ward, and who's absolutely convinced this horse is better than ever. Yes, his profile isn't the most attractive. There's a lot of races where he hasn't showed up, or he's been very slow away. Last year, he lost a front shoe, and it just always a bit of a mess for him. I just worry about the start for Nakatomi. He's coming out of stool 10. He can be slow. Yes, it probably does favor sometimes a grinder, especially if they do go too hard. But it's going to be interesting. And when you make the point that Straight No Chaser is quite versatile in the race, I wonder what you think about coming out of stall 8 and Johnny knowing that Tiger O'Shea's coming out of stall 4. Will you just let him go and just sit in behind him so they don't get into a dogfight?
Yeah, that's something that I don't think anybody knows the answer to until maybe the first 50 yards of this race unfold. Even in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, I was thinking Johnny was going to just be hell-bent on making sure that he gets to the front, and when he didn't panic. So we'll see. If they go fast, Nakatomi can win. And then let's talk about a couple of horses that come out of the same race last time out, right? Eastern World and American Stage were in together.
Yeah, American Stage is the one that I really wanted to keep an eye on. This horse was behind Tuz last time out at Maidan, and this was on the Super Saturday, the Mahab Al Shamal. You can see in the pink and the red colours, and he definitely came home late. He just found himself very wide all throughout the race, and he potentially, I think, used up a lot of pace to get to his position early. He came out of stall 14, I think. But he kept fighting. He fought all the way. Obviously, at this stage, Jockey knew that he was beaten. He's in a better draw in 7. He's got Oisin Murphy on board. He does also quite helpfully get a weight allowance as well. He's just a 3-year-old, and I just maybe think he might be going under the radar a little bit. He's just a big prize for a horse with a lot of untapped potential. His run second last time was his first go in Maidan, and yeah, he's just an interesting sort at a big price, maybe to chase home the top two.
All right, let's give our picks. I'll start this time, and I'm pretty sure we'll both agree that Straight No Chaser is the horse to beat. But I'm going to keep it all American in the exact. I'm going to go Nakatomi second. I think Tuz might, if he does get challenged by Straight No Chaser and doesn't have an easy cushion like he's used to, he could be in trouble, and he might not really have that much down the lane. So I think the 6 Nakatomi comes on for second. And I'm going to throw a big long shot in there, probably going to be somewhere around 50 to 1, I'm guessing. The 13 Dark Saffron, who draws outside, second to the outside post, and should just kind of be able to drop over and let the dust settle and maybe pass some tired horses late to jump into the trifecta. I know he's taking a big step up in class, and he's another 3-year-old that gets a little bit of help on the weight. But sometimes these horses, when they get sharp and they get a chance to face better company, step up and prove that they belong. I'm thinking maybe that could be the case here for the outsider Dark Saffron. So I'm going to go 9, 6, 13.
Okay, and I am with you with the one horse, 9 Straight No Chaser. It's going to be my winner to take it home for a huge, massive fan base. He's going to be a very popular winner if he was to do it. So 9 Straight No Chaser. I think Tuz will be in second. I can see this being a real fight between the two. So that's horse 11. And as I mentioned, the Japanese runner, American Stage, horse number 12, could be even better this time next year. But he's a horse with plenty of potential, as I mentioned. And drawn 6. That's it. Drawn 6. I think I might have said 7, which is a lot better than what he was drawn last time. And he still ran a phenomenal race.
All right, let's go to the Sheema Classic. This is a deep field, probably one of the more competitive races that we're going to see all night long. We could talk about every single horse in this field and probably make a case for them. Sheema Classic is going to go as race number 8, $6 million. These are basically the Breeders' Cup turf horses. It's actually a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup turf this year, and also you get a spot in the next year's Dubai Sheema Classic. Where should we even start? You want to start with the morning line favorite?
Well, I think we've got to start with the Breeders' Cup Turf winner, don't we?
Okay, we'll start with Rebels Romance then. Yeah, and also the defending champion of this race.
Yeah, and look, he was 25 to 1 for this last year. How did he go off such a big price? But
I don't know.
And you look back at it, you think actually his run in was very similar to what it is this time around. So it kind of surprising that he did. I think he had a couple of question marks against some improving younger horses. Don't forget Auguste Rodin was in the racing off the back of a Breeders' Cup turf success. This race, and I had the pleasure of speaking to William Buick. I asked him, did he think it was a deeper renewal? He thought it was. He's got a lot of respect for a good few of them. But I think Charlie Appleby and the Godolphin team have been very clever with their race planning for the horse. Since this time last year when he won this Sheema Classic, he's only been beaten once, and that was in the King George at Ascot in England in the middle of the summer. He seems to thrive being abroad in Europe or America or the Middle East. So they actually sent him to Germany. Obviously, went off to the Breeders' Cup. He's been in Qatar, and he's just picking up races, not exceptionally good ones, albeit the Breeders' Cup obviously was a very good race. But I think he's just been able to keep his confidence up. He obviously arrives into this race in very good form. I just wonder who the new pretenders on the block. And I think I probably might have said this time last year, that, this horse he's 7 now. There could be something else just with that little bit more class. And he might just have been a little bit flattered by his previous record. It's just a race of two halves for me, Dave. There are horses that I'm not sure are necessarily proven at the trip, and there are some that are out and out stayers. And I don't know if you want a real stayer in here or you want something that's got that little bit more speed and the class element to it. And if you're one or the other, then there's good few options for you.
All right, so morning line wise, Rebels Romance is 5-2. Is it Calandigan?
Calandigan, yes.
Calandigan. So this horse you would know plenty about, and this is kind of one that same thing. We're seeing a new rider today. Obviously, you got a guy with World Cup experience in Barcelona, but I'm looking down and seeing a different rider on this horse every single time.
Yeah, Stefan Pasquier was a big part of his career last year. No longer linked up with now the exes, the late Aga Khan, Francis Graffard turning to Mikel Barcelona, who's an exceptional jockey for the big race meetings, especially internationally. Francis has said that the idea has always been to come here. You obviously saw him there chasing home City of Troy in the Juddmonte International last summer, which was widely regarded and was awarded the Longines Race of the Year. City of Troy was very dominant, but many believe that Stefan Pasquier, if he could have it again, he wouldn't have made his run to City of Troy so late. He was then beaten second in the Champion Stakes at Ascot, where he had a bit of a tough trip. He is a horse that comes off the back and shows a turn of foot. And Francis has said that his only worry is that he's not going to find himself too far back. And Francis also said, I'm not going to make the same mistake as Ascot and use the draw to get too close to the pace and force him. So coming out of stall number 2, the only worry is that if there is pace in and around him, which I think there will be with Shin Emperor, is that he's going to find himself quite trapped and he's going to use up a lot of his energy early on. But he's a very, very classy horse. He just needs everything to fall right for him. And my only other concern is that he's not necessarily a proven stayer yet, which the others are.
Right. Let's talk about a horse that, could put Japan on the board if they're not already at this point. But with 2 races left, the Sheema Classic and Dubai World Cup, they're going to have a big chance with Forever Young, Ushpa Tesoro, Wilson Tesoro. But Shin Emperor is a big time horse, and he proved it leaving Japan to go to Saudi last time out, and he got the job done.
Yeah, the same connections of Forever Young. He's closely related to the ARC winner Sotsas, and he won the Neom Turf Cup, as we can see here, which was a really well-deserved victory. He was second in the Japan Cup the time before. He was well beaten in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe when the ground went against him. It was just too soft, and he ran a very good third in the Irish Champion Stakes, which was a prep run into the ARC. I think this horse is going to be an ARC contender. That's going to be their aim again, but they'll have to probably keep an eye on the ground for him. He's definitely improving, and I think the victory last time just showed that. And I like him a lot, Dave. I do. I think his draw is ideal in 1. He's going to break fast. He's going to get into that early position and try and just stay there. He isn't actually proven over the distance, but his breeding suggests it. And he's got a similar profile to Shahryar, who won this for Japan in 2012, and that he hadn't won over this trip either, but he was showing and improving, no doubt, in the way that he'd been racing, that he was crying out for it. So I've got a lot of faith in Shin Emperor come Saturday.
I really like a horse in this race. It's probably going to be my biggest long shot. Not going to be huge, maybe somewhere around 10-1. But it's a horse that raced on this night last year, but in the Dubai Gold Cup, not in the Dubai Sheema Classic. And I'm talking about the 3, Gia Veloto, who was in that 2-mile race last year, lost to Tower of London, who ran a huge race, by the way, that day, just go poof, blazing past everybody late. But look what he has done since then. After, cutting back from that race, it was just going to be a little bit too much to ask. I think this distance, he's much more cut out for. He's super sharp right now. I think he's going to run a huge race.
Yeah, this was some ride. If you've been watching all that through, there was a point where Oisin Murphy, who was riding him and will ride him tomorrow, was cut for a bit of time, and it makes a champion of a jockey when you can see them not panicking. And he just allowed the race to develop, and when it did, the splits did come, and the horse showed a massive turn of foot. He's very, very talented, and there's no concerns about his ability to stay, because, as you quite rightly mentioned, he was racing over further than this time last year, but they probably played around a little bit with his trip. He's probably a 1 mile 6 horse, not really 1 mile 4, but he's a 1 mile 4 horse that can stay and will outstay the others. Obviously, as you say, he ran in that Dubai Gold Cup. He was 5th. He could just lack the class of some of the others, but the form has worked out well. He had Dubai Honor in behind him, who was successful in Australia the weekend just gone, and he's just the type of horse that really should be allowed to play his part in this. And again, he's had a good bit of time off to get himself back and ready. And the Marco Botti team, they do a very, very good job. So I definitely wouldn't be putting you off him, Dave.
Well, we made some compelling arguments for a lot of different horses. Who is going to be the top one for you here?
Well, I think I made it kind of obvious that it will be Shin Emperor for me. I love what he did last time. I think he just really showed off all his ability, and it was a long time coming. I like Clandagan. I don't think it's going to be the ideal setup, and he'll have more sort of hard luck stories, really. But I think he's going to have a big year, and if you're going to be following me and the European coverage that I do for FanDuel this year, you'll be seeing a lot of Clandagan. And there will be a day for him, and I'd imagine he will be a horse that will end up, they like to hope, at a Breeders' Cup turf one day. He's obviously a gelding, so he can't actually run. Looking at all their options outside, and then Rebels Romance, I'd say in third. He's very consistent. He always shows up, but I think this race is a stronger race than it was last year.
And not to get off track here, but since you mentioned what you're going to be doing internationally later on in the year, and the name did come up in a running line with somebody in City of Troy, what's he up to? Like, was he ever maybe thinking of coming to Dubai? I don't think Aidan O'Brien brought anything this year.
Aidan O'Brien has got one horse running this year, and that's Continuous, and that's running in the Dubai Gold Cup, and it's actually one of the likely favourites, but he the level of, I don't know, enthusiasm in him that Ryan Moore's not even over. He's actually riding in Australia. City of Troy headed to stud, and he's covering mares now in Ireland at Coolmore. They actually announced.
Oh, he's all done.
Yeah, that Breeders' Cup Classic.
I want to see more of him. Come on.
Breeders' Cup Classic was the end. It was always going to be the end, come rain or shine.
You can't leave on. You can't close it out on that note. That was terrible.
We've got a changing of the guard this year. You got Auguste Rodin. You got City of Troy. Both were retired. So they have got their new career. But I suppose being a son of Justify, City of Troy is immensely valuable to Coolmore, and he's actually going to shuttle down to Australia. Just like Justify did, and cover mares there. So we've got some new kids who are going to throw out their credentials as the new City of Troy, and Clandagan, having chased him home last year, will be quite happy that he's not racing this season.
So Clandagan might indeed be the top gun. We'll see how he does. I'm going to go Givolato, top pick, Rebels Romance second, and I like just picking a long shot for third. So Danon
Decile.
That's a tough name for me. Yeah, and that's more of an American name than a British name. But Danon Decile, who is out of a dam named Top Decile, just again, kind of maybe not proven so much. It did win a group one in Japan, but a good win last time out, facing probably the toughest field that he's ever going to see, but giving him a chance to sneak in for third at least. So 3, 4, 6. Now we're going to go back a little bit here and go a race back. That was race 8, the Dubai Sheema Classic. Now we'll talk about the Dubai Turf. The Dubai Turf. This is the best. I mean, if he would have beaten Forever Young in the Saudi Cup, he's the best horse in the world, but he's the best turf horse in the world, right? In Romantic Warrior, without question.
Romantic Warrior has earned, I think I'm correct to say, over 20 million pounds, UK pounds, which is, I don't know what the conversion is nowadays, but you could say $40 million or something like that. It is extraordinary how much he's won. He's a horse that Danny Shen, his trainer, has been like, why not? Let's just take over the world. Let's go and see what we can do wherever we can race. So they decided that they were going to have this winter campaign in Dubai and Saudi, raced him on the dirt. You can see him here winning the Hong Kong Cup, and he had Liberty Island in second in the red hat. He was coming down the middle. But Romantic Warrior, he just knows how to farm all the races in Hong Kong now. So it all became quite easy. You can see his jockey James McDonald just turning around and looking for the challenges. It was very cheeky. James McDonald has given up all his big rides in Australia, and it's a massive carnival at the moment, so that he can ride this horse because of, you know, how special he is. This was the famous Saudi Cup, which if you haven't watched it, and this is the first time, take a deep breath. It was spine tingling, Dave. I was so lucky to watch this, and we in live, and we were just blown away. You think Romantic Warrior, everything went right. He got to the front. All he needed to do was cling on, and there comes your favorite horse in the world, doing it like you wanted him to.
I mean, when Forever Young was down along the inside, he wasn't going to get there. But once he got switched to the outside, he kind of found that extra gear that he needed to catch Romantic Warrior, and just something that, I mean, spine tingling, really. So even in defeat, and this is a horse that never loses, it ran an absolutely monstrous race. And James said it would have taken something extraordinary for Hick, but Romantic Warrior is extraordinary. So it's crazy that he's missing all these huge races that he certainly works all year to be a part of, but this horse is special enough for him to have to give that all up.
Oh, certainly. And James has said that the horse loves it in Dubai. He's very happy and healthy. My one worry was that both Romantic Warrior and Forever Young had a very hard race. But James has come out with the fighting talk that he's a horse that thrives. The tougher the race, the better you go. He hasn't taken a backward step from Saudi, and this is not as tough as that Saudi Cup. He is so far clear of the rest of the horses on ratings. So it's going to be very difficult, and it will take a big shock for anything to beat Romantic Warrior, unless you're coming up with some very interesting case against him.
I am not.
I know you like the long shot.
I might have a long shot for second or third, but not to beat him. I think him and Forever Young kind of separating and going their different ways in this race. They may have some sort of plan to meet up again next year or later in the year, but I think both of them going not against each other is going to make for two pretty short-priced winners in the Dubai Turf and the Dubai World Cup. But how about Liberty Island? Liberty Island is a horse coming from Sha Tin last time out, raced a lot in Japan, went to Hong Kong last time out, and was able to win the very prestigious Hong Kong Cup.
So Liberty Island, as you
or
can
second,
see here,
I'm
was
sorry,
second
not
to
winning it.
Yeah,
second to Romantic Warrior.
Yeah.
But only got beat, what, a length and a half? I mean, that's a huge race.
Yeah, and she came right down the middle. This is a horse that was the Triple Tiara winner in Japan in 2023. Second to the mighty Equinox as well in the Japan Cup. She was third to Rebels Romance in the Sheema Classic last year. She had one poor run in Japan after that, and then where I don't think she was right at all. And then that second to Romantic Warrior was a lot better. So they've decided, they've really switched up her distance that she's been running over, and this looks like the best for her. I think that she'll chase him home again. I think she's very good. She's not had a huge amount of racing. She's been nurtured quite well. I think the rest of the horses in the field, with all due respect, are just that one level down. There are a couple of them that I think could run big races and outperform their odds, but there's not a huge amount that's going to beat the rest of them. As I say that, and as I lose Dave, who I think was in agreement with me, wait back for Dave to be reconnected. The excitement of waiting for Romantic Warrior. I was saying, you must be so excited he fainted about the prospect of Romantic Warrior.
No, I'm going to faint during talking about Forever Young. So one of the horse that I wanted to get to, is Nation's Pride. Now, William Buick has a very live mount. We talked about that earlier with Rebels Romance, but he's riding another Appleby horse here in Nation's Pride. Is he? I mean, he's probably not good enough to beat Romantic Warrior if they both run their best race. Is he good enough to hit the board?
I don't know. Look, this was a much better race from him. This winning the Sing Spiel last time. He had Holloway Boy in second, who I actually think has got a good chance here at a big price. He's a really in and out horse. Look at his form. He can never back up a win. He's low as well. He's gone off favourite on multiple occasions, and he's been beaten, including the Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational earlier this year. The cheap pieces, and you can see that headgear that came on last time. They definitely benefited him. But again, as I said, he just can't seem to put in a string of performances. So for me, he's too risky.
Yeah, he was not really that far up for me. Buick also picked the amount of Rattle on the Roll, which I think is very interesting in the World Cup. We'll talk about that later. But one of the horse that I just wanted to ask you about. I don't think we're going to need to see a race on it, but Factor Cheval. They decided to have some sort of a dirt experiment the last two races, and that totally bombed. But if you just look at his races on the turf, he could be kind of that upsetter that could at least sneak in second or third.
Yeah, he was. He's an interesting one. He was the winner of the Dubai Turf this time last year, which took us all by surprise. But again, he's a horse that's just been. I think it was a surprise win because he just seemed to be a nearly horse, just nearly like he's just not quite good enough to be winning. He won by a short head. It was all, I think, if you remember, it's like you go through a blanket over the horses, and they were all finishing a bit of a muddle together. Since then, his form has just gone all over the place. He's ran multiple times in the UK. That hasn't really worked out that well for him. As you say, the dirt campaign, going to the Saudi Cup, well worth giving it a go, but it just didn't really materialize. I think that this is a much stronger race than the race that he won last year, and I just can't get in the Factor Cheval camp, especially with him coming out stall 11.
All right, we're both not going to try to beat Romantic Warrior. I'm going to go. Maybe I didn't give Nation's Pride enough credit when I was talking about earlier. I am going to use him for second, but not a threat. I don't think to beat Romantic Warrior is going to be somewhere in the 1 to 5 range. I would think I'm going to go 8, 7, and 11. Liberty Island third. 8, 7, 11. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go 8, 11, and then number 4, Holloway Boy, is going to be around. I mean, for the price I see right now, 50 to 1. You just saw him finishing second to Nation's Pride. He is you can see him there. It just takes a little bit of galvanizing by Danny Tudhope. He's a big horse. You can see the size of him. And I think it was only around now that he starts getting going. But at this point, Nation's Pride has come away from him. And he's really finding, but he just doesn't find enough time. So Danny, it could be, again, that kind of situation for him. I think he'll be up there. He's so tough. He was third to Romantic Warrior in the race in Maidan that Romantic Warrior won 2 starts ago. Again, he doesn't have the class to some of them, but I think at a big price, he's definitely kind of a reliable sort. And the only other horse I want to mention, but again, it's just a horse I want you to put in your notebook going forward, is a horse called Ghostwriter, horse number 2. He was also in the kind of City of Troy world last year. He chased him home twice. He was third when Clandagan was second in that Jubbmont International. He is going to be a very exciting 4-year-old this year. As I said, City of Troy is retired. There are a lot of horses that have gone to be stallions, and this horse has been kept on. And I think that he could have a big year, but this is looking like how fresh he is. But I hope that this will be a stepping stone season.
He's been certainly keeping good company. All right, so we're going to talk about $1 million Dubai World Birth into the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, 7 million there. So you combine the 20 million from the Saudi Cup, 12 million here in the Dubai World Cup, 7 million in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Forever Young, if he sweeps all three, could win a combined $39 million in purses. Obviously, the winner doesn't get all that money, but the money is just so crazy these days. He also won last year's UAE Derby, and I don't think anybody's ever won the UAE Derby, Saudi Cup, and Dubai World Cup. So he's doing things that horses just aren't doing. But we saw last year winning the UAE Derby. There was just something about him before the race, in the race, after the race. He's just a cool dude. He is composed, and he's just got this aura about him that is special. Some horses you just know they're good, and he is so fun to watch, whether he's winning easily or like this, having a rally for the win last time out. He's only lost 2 times. He lost the Kentucky Derby when he around in the stretch, and he lost by a couple of noses, and he lost the Breeders' Cup Classic when he drew the rail. He was the inside dueler basically out of 3 horses, and they went 44 and change and a half. Most 44 to the half in the Breeders' Cup Classic are going to lose by 50 lengths, like he did in the Saudi Cup. Once he kind of got outside, he rallied, and that was just so, he just got so much heart, and he's my favorite young, so he's going to be that's the only horse I want to talk about. Nobody else. No, we're obviously going to talk about others. But do you love him as much as I love him?
Oh, the way that you talk about him makes me love him too. It's like, honestly, like one of your children. Look, Forever Young is far superior in this race. He, as you mentioned, he's unbeaten everywhere bar America. He still is yet to conquer America. The only 2 times
But
he's
they
been
weren't
beaten
bad
has
races,
been
believe me.
on American shores. Yeah, and it's beaten, but it's not because he wasn't good enough. It was because of the circumstances of the races. So I think that's it's going to be ticked off. The Classic is their main aim. But it took him all the way to the 29th of December 2024 for him to gain that first Grade 1 in the Dejeton in Bakker on home soil. But that Saudi Cup victory was just a coming of age moment for Forever Young. Rusey Sakai pounced, and he was actually drawn widest of all in 14, and he actually broke beautifully, and he always settled in that superior position. If any other horse was drawn in 14, they would have found it really difficult gaining that early vantage point, and he had Romantic Warrior behind him, just obviously breezed past him, and the jockey just kept very patient, and he didn't look to have the pace of Romantic Warrior at one stage, but it's just the way that he found so much late on. I think his stamina won the day. I think his class is just for all of them to see. And I like what they have said about him this week, that they think that he's actually improved from the Saudi Cup, even though they had quite a tough race and it took a week for him to get over it. But they think that experiencing that tough race, him, and feel that there's any negatives. So, what can beat him, I suppose, or what is in there that's going to at least give him something to think about.
I'm looking at this is pretty cool here that I picked this up. I don't know if you got one when you went out to track earlier, but it's the media guide. Let me just look at, so 2 years ago, because I want to talk about Ushba Tesoro. He won it 2 years ago. Laurel River won last year, wire to wire, big upset. He unfortunately wasn't able to make it back to defend his championship. I don't know if they're ever in this race speed-wise. Maybe Forever Young shoots right to the front, but Ushba Tesoro kind of needs that fast pace to set up his late kick. He won the race at a pretty big price in his yellow bridle 2 years ago, but he really hasn't done a whole lot since. He still have something in the tank.
Yeah, he's the veteran of the party. He is of age now. He's going to retire after this. This is confirmed his last run. picked him as a selection to be placed in the Saudi Cup last time at 25-1, because he always shows up. He might not win one. That's a huge price for a horse that could fill in those placings. And he's that kind of horse again this year, because he's around about 16-1, or maybe we'll visit the price. But he's always reliable. Last year, where there was just one horse left out on its own, that could be exactly how it works out again this year. I just can see Forever Young going and taking it and just commanding all the authority, and be a case of everything else trying to chase him. And I, as you've said, don't think that the two Bupat Seema got that class of Laurel River. Imperial Emperor is extremely impressive how much he's improved since joining that yard, but I think the victory last time might have flattered him a little bit. I hate to say this, because the group that own him are, on in a Dubai World Cup. They're a syndicate that have done very well in the UK and in Europe. But I think they're even flabbergasted that this horse has brought them to the Dubai World Cup when they originally bought him out of Godolphin. I think that what he won last time was very impressive, but it's a grade down to what he's got on offer here, and the kind of quality of horse that both Forever Young and Ushba Tesoro are. Because if Romantic Warrior was in here, they wouldn't be the prices that they are now. Imperial Emperor being 7-1, they'd be triple the price. But it's just because there's nothing else really there that they believe can Imperial Emperor and Forever Young.
Well, they skipped the Saudi Cup and raced here at Meydan, but a lot of horses coming out of the Saudi Cup. Ramjet, we had Wilson Tesoro finishing fourth. Waka Stars just didn't go on with it that day, but he has races on his resume that, he's drawn the rail, he's speedy, but he's obviously going to have to do a heck of a lot better than he did last time out.
Yeah, as you say, load of horses. Ramjet has found Forever Young too strong in his last 3 goes. Rattle found himself far too far, but I think he was disgraced. Yeah. You had Wilson Tesoro was actually ahead of Rattle and Roll. He was 4th in the Saudi Cup, and then Ushba Tesoro was 3rd. So he actually came best of all of them, but he's a bigger price. So I can't really work it out. I think maybe there is a worry in people's mind when they're pricing these horses that Walk of Stars can be forgiven for that run in Saudi, and he could be seen to better effect back on the Meydan track. I suppose that should be factored in. And Forever Young doesn't have. I mean, he's confirmed on the track from last year, so you have to assume that he's going to be absolutely fine coming back at it. But Ushba Tesoro is very much so as well. So I think that the Saudi, I believe, will be confirmed.
Well, let's talk about a couple of Americans, and I'll start. Well, we already talked about Rattle and Roll, sort of, to an extent, in Saudi. He's got a nice American record. He's won a lot of different racetracks. But Mixto, Frankie Dettori, we thought we had seen him ride his final race ever at Meydan. He had announced his retirement, and he's well out of retirement now, and he's had a very good run at it back, and showing up to ride horse early in the card for Doug O'Neill and Raging Torrent. Mixto Pacific Classic at a big price. He just seems to have the knack to, every once in a while, not every time, he's not the most consistent horse as far as running his top performance every time, but he has a knack to bring it every once in a while. He would have to run a huge race to hit the board here, but I think he could be in the top 3.
Yeah, you saw Doug O'Neill this week. What was his feelings about?
He seemed pretty happy with the draw. And he has Katona too, who won the San Pasquale at Santa Anita at the shorter distance of a mile and a quarter. He's going to be a huge price from the outside post, but he was really happy and appreciative that he gets the winningest rider in the history of this event and this night with the Dubai World Cup. He has, I think, almost twice as many wins as the next winningest jockey in the 29-year history of this event. So Frankie on Mixto, and he got a chance to get on him the last time out in the Pegasus, finished 4th. So maybe that helped a little bit. But yeah, I think I'm going to give him a chance for not to beat Forever Young, but to be in the money.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I think that the thing Frank giving him such a good ride to finish 4th last time is a bit of confidence there. I think at least he's a kind of an unknown in this field, whereas I look at through a lot of them and I'm like, I think that we already know based on what you've already done against a few of them how they'll go. What about Hit Show?
Yeah,
because an interesting profile for this too.
So same connections as Flood Zone, and the owners bought these 2 horses privately at some points of their career with the intentions of racing on this stage here on Dubai World Cup night. So Hit Show, I loved his win 2 starts back in the Louisiana Stakes at Fairgrounds, and then he just wasn't able to keep up with Locked. Locked would have been a really fun horse to see ship out here to Maidan, and even White Barrio, who Mixto lost to Pegasus. But both those horses in the States to their campaigns geared up for the Breeders' Cup Classic. But Hit Show is an interesting horse who's made almost $1.5 million. Who has kind of had the keys to this horse. He's ridden him. He's won. He didn't make my numbers in here. I'm going to go with Forever Young. I'm going to go with Mixto. And I wasn't going to pick this horse earlier until I talked to Kenny McPeak at the draw. And he said, Dave, rather than roll, he might shock the world in this race. So that's a pretty, and when he speaks, he usually means business, because he kind of predicted that Torpedo Anna was going to win the Oaks, and she did that and so much more. So he's kind of pushed me to at least keep an eye on this horse in your exotics.
Yeah, very open and transparent about the run for Aston and Roll in the Saudi Cup. He said he just got far too far back, and he was doing all his best work late on. So you've got to give him a huge amount of credit. I think that in that way, you kind of agree with me that the Saudi Cup form probably will stand up. But it was interesting, even just watching it back there, that Aston and Roll was coming late past or trying to come past Wilson Tesoro, who's my 3rd place selection. I am with Forever Young, Ushba Tesoro, and then Wilson Tesoro. So that's literally just the Saudi Cup, as I said, being played out again. As long as mark for all of them with the Saudi Cup is that it hasn't taken a huge amount out. But Ushba Tesoro, I think he just sort of thrives in this kind of environment. Here he is winning. Here he is winning the. He's just a horse with a huge amount of talent. I don't think that his talent has. I think it's just others have improved past him. I think they always keep this sort of race program in mind, and so I think that he's a horse that, as I can see here, 15. He's probably a little bit shorter than I thought he'd be, but I still think that's a good 1, 2, 3 at the prices with Forever Young, Ushba Tesoro, and Wilson Tesoro. So good night for the Japanese, I felt.
Going for the Japanese trifecta. Now, just getting back to Forever Young real quick, Yoshida Yahagi, his trainer, said that race did take a lot out of Forever Young. It took him about a week to recover from that. But that was February the 22nd. We're now into April. So even with that week kind of letting him, as he's doing better now, going in to the Saudi Cup. So with a lot of respect, and say that Forever Young is going to be the horse that dazzles everybody under the lights, which we're now hour.
Mm.
We're now less than 24 hours away from the Dubai World Cup. So here's our coverage tomorrow. We're going to be on from the get-go. First race is going to be at 4:35. That's the big $1 million Arabian race that I think is one of the better races, betting races anyways, of the day. We'll go on about a half an hour before that to get you all ready to go, and then we'll take you all the way through the Dubai World Cup. Is there one race that you're most looking forward to?
I think it has to be that Golden Shaheen for the fight between it.
That's right.
I love fast and furious and frantic. There's so much expectation from both the home fans of Tiz and the supporting fans of Straight No Chaser that, yeah, that's going to be one hell of a race.
My daughter was asking for Dubai chocolate. I guess that's something that's trending all over social media. So I was expecting to come back with that as a nice souvenir for her. But I'll show you something else that I'm taking back to California now. This horse head, and yes, it does. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me if I put it on. Let's
now
try.
You're going to scare your daughter with that.
Let's see. So this, yeah, you might be able to still hear me. This was a prize that I won at a trivia contest. So I'm going to bring